What's new in Awaken OS version 1.2.1 based on Android 11 running on the Xiaomi Poco F1? Hey peeps, what's up? Munchie here, back with another video, and in this video I'm going to show you what is new in Awaken OS version 1.2.1 based on Android 11 running on the Xiaomi Poco F1. As you might have noticed by now, they do have their own new boot animation now, and the next thing I would like to mention is that in case you want to know how to install Awaken OS or have a look at the previous builds of Awaken OS for the Poco F1, we do have separate videos for all of those, which can be found in the pinned comment on this video. Next up, you will notice that the security patch is from October 5th. The kernel they are using is Silver Core version 7.0. SE Linux, of course, is set as enforcing, and the build which I am using is the one which has Google Apps baked in, which means I do have Pixel Launcher installed out of the box and everything is super smooth and super fast. Have a look at those recents. There it is, no jitters, no lags, and the experience is pretty smooth. Now we are going to concentrate mainly on the new features of 1.2.1. So first up, we will go into settings and then we'll go into system gestures. You will notice if you go into system navigation and the settings for gesture navigation, you now have the option of hiding the bar at the bottom, and you also have a toggle to enable the haptic tick effect for the back gesture in case you want to enable that. Next up, we can head into sound. So in sound, they have added the option for increasing ring volume, and once you enable this toggle, you can of course set your start volume and the ramp up time as well. Other than that, they have also added ringtone vibration patterns from Oxygen OS. These are the different options for that. And unfortunately for now, they have decided to remove Dirac sound enhancer. However, I am pretty sure it is due to some issue and they should add it back in the future builds. And before you ask me, yes, Awaken OS does come with IR face unlock and it is super fast on this build, and the fingerprint scanner also works absolutely fine. Next up, we can head over to display. So in display, you will notice that you now have the option of selecting your rotation angles and you can choose from 0, 90, 180 or 270. If you go into styles and wallpapers, you have lock screen clock styles baked in and you have to swipe up and down for the different options. There are a bunch of options and all of them do work absolutely fine. Next up, you can configure your colors: natural, boosted, saturated and adaptive. Unfortunately, you do not have the option for live display. Then you can also configure the DPI on your display in case you want to do that. Go into lock screen and you can configure your lock screen. Now playing of course is broken, but yes, you do have a toggle to enable the screen for new notifications, and you also have double tap to wake, working absolutely fine. Now the only issue I noticed over here is that it works only once. So let us say I have enabled double tap to wake and double tap to sleep. So first time it's going to work, but the subsequent times it does not work. You have to use the power button, and then if you try it again, it's going to work. So I'm not sure if this is a bug or this is intended behavior. Then you also have the option of hiding the notch. So here it is, display cutout. Right now it is set as device default. We can choose to hide it, and as you can see, everything did shift down. Now the only downside here is that your gesture to go back to home will not work, so you will have to reboot your device once for that to kick in. We are just going to go back into display cutout and set it as device default, and there it is. You can see the gesture is now working absolutely fine. Going back into display, you also have the option of full screen apps, so you can configure what all apps are going to run in full screen. Then you also have dark theme along with the different fonts which are available. So these are the multiple options for the headline and body font. You can of course configure the icon shape as well. We are using the device default. We can try changing it to say the teardrop one, and you can also configure your icon shape along with RGB picker for your accent color. So let us try out red, apply. The system UI should restart, and there it is. You can see teardrop icons along with the red accent color. Jumping over to battery. Unfortunately, they had to remove the option for battery thermals, and That is because they have switched over to thermals from the Google Pixel 3 XL. So in case you want to install a custom ROM on this build, make sure to ask your custom ROM developer if their kernel supports the thermals from the Google Pixel 3 XL or crosshatch. Then you also have the option for battery temperature. And while we are inside battery, you will notice that all the options do have some icons beside them. Not all, but most of the options have icons beside them, and this is true for the display options as well. So this is something new which Awaken OS has added with version 1.2.1. Next up, they have also added Awaken settings. So this is where we have customizations from Awaken OS. First up is status bar. So the first new change you will notice in status bar is that you now have battery styles. These are your different options. Mine is hidden right now, but let us try the big circle. And then you can also configure your battery percentage. You have three options: disabled, enabled inside the icon, or just enabled. I just prefer to keep my battery style hidden and battery percentage enabled. And then you can also enable or disable the battery percentage when charging. And they have also added traffic indicators. So for traffic indicators, you have three options: either disabled, or you see them in the status bar, or you see them in the expanded header. And then you can also configure your activity type, the threshold, whether you want to see the arrows or not, and the font size for the traffic indicators. Then you also have customization for clock. So where do you want the clock? Left, center, or right? Of course, for the Poco F1, if the notch is not hidden, then the center option is useless. You can also choose whether you want AM, PM or not, and then you can also configure the different items which you want to see in your status bar. Moving over to quick settings customization. So you do have the option for new tint, vibrate on touch. The new option which they have added is the option for brightness slider in your quick settings. So do you want to never show it, show when expanded, or show always? Mine is set as show always, and there it is. You can see we do have the brightness slider. Then in case you want to enable or disable the auto brightness icon, and you also have the option for battery percentage when you access your quick settings. So mine is set as enabled. You can see on the top right, battery percentage is visible. Let us try to disable this, and bam, there it is. You can see that the battery percentage now disappeared. And in case you want to disable your quick settings on a secure lock screen, you have a toggle for that as well. Next up, in customization for buttons, you can of course wake your device with the volume rockers, use the volume rockers to skip between media when the screen is off. Then they also have a toggle for advanced restart. I do have it enabled. Select restart, and there it is. You can see the options are system, recovery, and bootloader. Going back into the button customization, you can also disable the power menu on a secure lock screen as well. So this is another new option. Then you have keyboard cursor control, and in case you want to see the volume panel on the left, that option is also there, along with toggling the torch with the screen off. So you have two different options: either double tap of the power button or long press. Let us choose long press. Screen off, press and hold power button, there it is. Torch working, press and hold it one more time, and torch is not working, or it has been turned off. Next up, in notifications, you have the option to disable the notification headers. So if you do not like the notification header, which in this case is conversation, something which Google added with Android 11, you can disable those. Of course, you do need a system UI restart for the changes to kick in. Then you have customizations for your lock screen. So yes, you do have double tap to sleep on the lock screen, double tap to sleep on the status bar. Let us enable it, and bam, there it is. Double tap to sleep on the status bar, working like a boss. Then you can configure your media art for the lock screen along with the blur level once you enable this toggle. And yes, you do have lock screen music visualizer as well. Two different options: automatic color and lava lamp. Both of them do look pretty great. And you can also configure how many lines you want, the sanity level, the opacity, and other things. Then in case you want to enable or disable the lock icon on the lock screen, you have a toggle for that. Lock screen charging info is also there. Weather information for the lock screen has been added with version 1.2.1. Next up, you have ambient display. So yes, they do have the option for always on, but it is not working right now. There it is. I turned off my screen and always on display did not kick in. I did try by rebooting my device as well, but it did not work. Then Double tap to check phone works, lift to check phone works absolutely fine. In miscellaneous, you can of course enable or disable the dashboard conditions and suggestions. Next up, we can have a look at safety net. So I do have Magisk Manager installed, and do note my device is not rooted. I have only installed Magisk Manager to check for safety net, and as you can see, safety net is passing out of the box, which means you should be able to use your banking apps. Now, those of you who do decide to root your device, you might have to use Magisk Hide to enable or for safety net to pass so that you can keep on using your banking apps. Next up, we can open DRM info, check for Widevine L1, and here it is, L1 in the building. And yes, Netflix is available in the Play Store. However, unfortunately, I do not have a Netflix account to check the playback. But yes, you can download Netflix from the Play Store. Other than that, we can have a look at the quick setting tiles as well. So they have added a few new tiles, one of which is the FPS info. There it is, you can see working absolutely fine. Then you also have the caffeine tile, CPU info tile, and we can also check the screen recorder. So another change you will notice is that when you enable the screen recorder, this whole panel is now on the bottom of the screen instead of being on top of the screen. And good news is that if you want to record device audio and microphone at the same time, there are no UI lags anymore. So the issue wherein the UI would lag once you started the screen recorder has of course been fixed with this build, which should be good news for those of you who game on your device. Next up, we can check for UI lag. As you can see, here is my Google feed. No lags, nothing like that. We can access the recents, super cool, super fast, super smooth. We can also try to switch between the applications. There it is. You can see no issues to report. Everything is butter smooth. Opening the applications and the animations are super smooth as well. And before I forget, Assistant works absolutely fine. However, the only issue is that OK Google does not work for now. So all in all, a pretty good build for those of you who want to try Android 11 on your Poco F1. Awaken OS might be the new kid on the block, but the developers behind the scenes are very experienced. And there it is, peeps. That was our first look at the new features of Awaken OS version 1.2.1 running on the Poco F1. And that will do it for this video. Hope my video helped you. Likes, shares and subscribes are appreciated. Feedback and comment more than welcome. See you when I see you.